So yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. So just a few words about myself. I'm an associate partner at Juliet Sterwan, which is a consultancy focused on strategy, transformation, and innovation. So I have a role that's very operational every day, working with our consultants here in Switzerland, and Juliette Sterwan is 600 consultants in Paris. So we're a much smaller team of about 20 here. But as most people who are in consulting, even at the partner level, we're also consultants. And so the other work I do is on projects typically, and more specifically, and over the last number of years, in the work of program management. And so I've had a bit of time to observe a lot of projects happening, as well as because programs can be quite long. The program I'm leading right now, I've been managing for 8 years. And so I have now built up a kind of backlog of some learnings. I want to share one of those with you tonight around indicators, which is related to my operational role leading a company. So I want to bring those two things together around the work of indicators, because I think, and this will be the thesis we'll work on together this evening, that in projects, I think we tend to focus more on lag indicators, and we'll talk about what those are. And I want to plead for focusing a bit more on lead indicators, which we naturally do, I think, in more operational roles, but maybe a bit less potentially in project management. So that would be our focus. So there's a plan. We don't really need to look into this because you're just going to experience it as we go through. In any case, it probably won't speak much to you now, but I'm going to introduce these ideas here, and you'll just have to trust me that I've done my best to structure the thoughts behind the presentation. And I want to start with this very famous quote you've all heard many, many times, and it's considered kind of like gospel in management circles. But as I was just discussing with you, what we often now find when we go to look up these quotes is that oftentimes it's maybe not the person that we all think it was who said them. And so I've put a question mark because Peter Drucker is, of course, the great business thinker, management thinker, and professor at Harvard for many, many, many years. And I think now there is a real question about whether he ever said this at all. But beyond whether he said it, and there is a debate online, I think that the content is potentially also debatable, in the sense that, well, there probably are some things that we can manage without measuring them. And one of the great examples I think we've all maybe heard about recently is from Netflix, who doesn't manage or doesn't track and measure paid time off. So employees can take the amount of time off that they like. And so they don't measure that. And yet they're able to manage the coverage of teams, of their services, of their performance. They're able to manage their culture without this metric. So we can debate, I think, a bit the question. And of course, the inverse is also clearly not true, right? Just because you can measure something doesn't mean that you can manage it either. The weather is a great example, right? We measure that to excellent, very minimal degrees, but we don't manage it. It was my birthday over yesterday, and I think for the first time in my entire life, it was sunny. So I just want to mention that when I'm talking about the weather, I was actually appreciated whoever managed that yesterday. It was nice. So we can keep that one up. But I think what isn't debatable is that this philosophy has really led to an explosion in the amount of data and the things that we want to manage and that we try to manage. And we've probably all got plenty of examples of them, but many of them we're wearing on our hands and our wrists, all the data that we're now getting about our movements, about our sleep, and so on. And that's just in a very personal way. I don't know if you know the film, but we have certainly one of our sexiest actors leading in it, Moneyball by Phil, sorry, I don't know who the book is by. And there was a book called Moneyball featuring Brad Pitt. Great story about baseball, American baseball, and this team, the Oakland Athletics, that had a terrible record and no budget. And this guy, Billy Beane, went out and hired a Yale analytics statistician and had this young kid come in who identified that there was a key lead indicator that no one paid attention to, which was just how often players get on base. We're all focused on the big hitters. How many hits do they get, or and runs batted in, and so on, or strikes, strikeouts, and so on. He was focused on just getting on base, and there are other ways of getting on base which lead to runs than just hitting a ball. And so they started to hire these people who only had this one statistic that was positive, and nobody tracked it and nobody looked at it. But in fact, that created a team that went from the last in the league to almost to the top of the league within one short season. So great story. If you have a chance, go and read it. And I think my main conclusion then is to say that you can do a lot with a little, but focusing earlier on and keeping the focus and then the rigor really on these lead measures, which I hope will become something that you'll start to integrate and talk about and work with a little bit more. And if not, then it's probably because you're already doing it, and maybe then you just have some good stories you can tell from this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Josh. Our next soirée is... En fait, je peux passer en français, ça. Là, alors, la prochaine soirée, c'est le 2 décembre. Ça sera autour de contrôle de projet. C'est une société active surtout dans l'aviation, Mixo, PQBED, qui vont venir parler de Project Controls, mais ça sera en français. Vous avez déjà reçu dans la newsletter, le rappel de la semaine passée, il y avait déjà la pré-annonce. Et après, en mois de janvier, on aura, où il est? Serge, il est derrière la caméra, qui va nous parler de PMO. Qui va nous parler non, c'est pas celui-là. Voilà. Qui va nous parler de PMO stratégique, de lien, hein,
et de la maturité.
Et la maturité. Voilà, il est là.
On arrive à démarrer petit et devenir de plus en plus grand et satisfaire de plus en plus la direction jusqu'à arriver à innover et à être une vraie valeur ajoutée pour notre entreprise.
Voilà, donc les soirées de décembre et de janvier seront, celle de décembre est déjà annoncée, celle de janvier sera annoncée bientôt.